Right. Says we're live streaming.
Yes.
Right, we're just about coming through, I think. Hopefully see some comments. No comments yet. Yep, we're live on air. Right, and it's 3 o'clock.
Good timing.
Perfect timing. Okay then, so Davy McGuinness, thank you so much for joining us today. We are delighted to have you on our new little platform.
It's a joy to be with you, Siobhan.
No, we are. I know how busy you are, so your time is precious. That is for sure.
I am busy, yes. I was writing review the weekend when you sent the link across.
Mm-hmm.
As I was saying to you, I've just started Friday because Friday's over. It's a review programme I do, so I'm reviewing Friday's news and writing up Friday's section of Monday's report.
You never stop, do you?
Last time I looked, the news didn't turn off.
No, that's true. So we've got a couple of people saying hello, so I can't see how many people are watching like you can do normally.
I'm using a different streaming service.
Uh-huh. So we'll just have to not worry about that and just talk to each other.
You know, if there's a comment comes up and it catches your eyes, or a question comes up for me that catches your eyes, I'm quite happy to answer them.
Okie doke. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Right, well, let's go ahead.
Okay, so Davy, where are you from?
I'm from a small fishing village in the outskirts of Glasgow called Easterhouse.
Ah.
Actually, at one point it was Europe's biggest housing estate.
Oh, yeah.
Grew up there in the 70s and the 80s. There was a fantastic place, great community spirit, wonderful place. Had a bad reputation, but as a kid I never seen it. You know.
And what did your parents do?
My father was a taxi driver and a bus driver, and my mother was a housewife. An educated housewife, but a housewife.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
I've got two brothers. And we see each other every Wednesday night. We don't see each other in the flesh very often, but we see each other every Wednesday night for a Zoom meeting. Mm-hmm. Generally, they're just back to the pub and pretty pissed, right enough, you know.
Well, it's nice that you keep in touch, though.
Oh, they're great guys. Mm-hmm. We have a good bond. We've only got each other and our parents are away, but you know, we've always got on. Mm-hmm. Even as kids, when we were boxing each other, you know, it was just 10-minute fits and then back get on with it, you know.
Mm-hmm. So when did you leave school?
Early 80s. End of 82, beginning of 83.
Mm-hmm. And what did you do then?
Joined the army.
All right. How long were you in the army for?
Yeah, just short of just about 9, I think.
About 9 years?
About that, aye.
Uh-huh. And when had you already started to become political at that point, or was that earlier?
No. I had a smashing modern studies teacher who got me absolutely interested in the great way of putting the good way of explaining how things work politically, or how they should work politically is a better way of putting it. So that would have been in a secondary school. So I got really interested in politics then.
And what were your politics back then?
Same as the other day.
Right, so straight through, independence all the way.
Never seen any sense in letting the guy next door run my affairs. I don't let my next door neighbour run my affairs. I'm certainly going to let the country next door run my affairs. Never made any sense to me. And we were fortunate, we had parents that actually educated us a fair bit in Scottish history. We'd visit all the castles and all the, you know, museums and all that sort of thing.
And what about your community at Easterhouse? Were people pro-independence in Easterhouse, or?
I don't think it was much of a subject at the time.
No, like everywhere.
You could think about the history of the SNP back then. Tiny wee party, fringe party. So, no, it wasn't a subject that was on everybody's lips. There were obviously nationalists around, There was a few of them around me actually, but that's beside the point. It just wasn't. Almost everybody was a socialist.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
What, and a Labour voter?
Well, my mother was an SNP voter. My father was a Labour voter. So one living room one day would have an SNP flyer on it, and the other one a Labour one. The one with the SNP one get egged. Back then they called us the Scottish nose pickers.
Oh no.
Yep, that would be the chant in the street if you were wearing the yellow rosette or whatever.
Wow. So that definitely was the minority.
Oh, Christ, aye. Aye. You know,
So after you left the army, what did you do next?
worked in security.
Right. How long did you do that for?
Till I get too slow and somebody nearly stabbed me.
Oh, that's a bit of a... I'm glad you didn't get stabbed.
Me too.
Uh-huh.
And then I climbed back in a truck.
Right. And so how long have you been doing the trucks?
23 years.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I drove trucks in the army as well.
And do you work night shifts or something?
I work a back shift now. I work in the yard just across from my house, actually.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay, so like, when did it go from voting SNP to starting to campaign and do your own research and all that sort of thing?
About a year before the independence campaign was announced, in fact, by 2010, we're quite active in the online campaign to go to the SNP, the majority, so that Mr. Salmon could call the referendum. So, by 2010, I started getting active in the community online. And then 2012, when the referendum was announced, a friend of mine, David Milligan, you've spoken to him yourself, he was setting up Facebook groups and I got involved and we went forward for there.
Uh-huh.
The marches started, that was before the referendum, then after the referendum, was involved in the active campaign in the west of Scotland to get people mobilised to campaign for independence. A lot of interesting, met a lot of interesting people along the way. All with varying views on how it should turn out. Afterwards, I was more interested in getting there first.
Uh-huh.
We could argue about how the house was going to look, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Get the keys first and then decorate has always been my motto.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When did you start your IndyTruckDavy?
Let's say, I think it was about 2016, just after the Brexit vote.
Whose idea was it? Was it yours?
Something come up on the radio and I thought, I've got to address this. So I did. And we're where we are today is where we should have been when that question was asked, when I started doing the broadcast in 2016, just after the Brexit vote. Because that's when the change of circumstances had happened. And the BBC asked if the Scottish Government would take the Westminster Government to court if they didn't allow another referendum. And that's where we are today, in court.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I addressed it at the time and said, either take my bloody court, but no that one down the road, the international court. Hey, as I say, we are where we are.
Yeah, yeah. So, that's quite something, because, like, do you think we've actually achieved anything since 2016?
Lots. But we'll get a wee bit more into that as we go through when you ask the right questions. I started doing the daily programme about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. It was an artist friend of mine, Michael Larkin, you'll probably know him as Wee Scribbles.
Uh-huh.
And I was putting out the odd one here and there on specific subjects. And he says, you should do a video every day. And I said, oh, bugger off, Michael. And it took off from there.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been on a run about 4.5 years of daily videos, Monday to Friday.
Uh-huh.
There's been odd days when I haven't been able to broadcast. Technical difficulties. When I was in the truck, it could be areas where I just couldn't get a signal around Scotland. And where I would record the videos and put them out as recordings. And then
and you've built up quite a community, haven't you?
The audience is quite a community, yes. Yes, they are.
Did that happen gradually, or did it kind of?
Audience is sort of picked up and waned, because as you go along and your opinion gets out, some people agree, some people don't. They diverge away because they don't like what you have to say. You know, you're all right as long. What I find with this is you're all right as long as you're pleasing everybody. If I say something that displeases some people, like when I talk about the Alpha Party, people think I'm doing on the Alpha Party. I'm a political realist. It takes years, decades, for a political party to make it mainstream. Decades. Let's look at the SNP, for example. 35, 37, more or less got underway. Didn't kick off until devolution. Up until devolution, the SNP was a fringe party. Maximum amount of MPs they ever had in Westminster was 11. So, I'm just a political realist. I mean, look at the Greens. They've been on the go since the 50s. They've got one MP. One. And if it wasn't for devolution, they'd been on in that parliament along there. In fact, there wasn't when devolution kicked off, I don't think. I mean, I think Solidarity had 6 or something like that, but I don't think the Greens had any.
Yeah, I mean, the voting system, when it's first passed the post, that's totally undemocratic, isn't it?
Aye, it's undemocratic, but it doesn't matter what the voting system is. It takes a long time for a political party to make. It doesn't matter what superstar's leading it. It takes a long time for a political party to make it into people's consciousness. And so far, I haven't seen anything out of the Alpha Party which is even would make a decent public policy. The only thing they seem to stand for is independence, and that's it. You know, so I mean, I haven't seen a manifesto put in front of me which I could read and say, aye, that's a good idea. And, you know, until they start putting together coherent policies that the public would accept, then that's why there will be a fringe party for as long as it takes for them to come up with decent policies and something the public want to vote for. And that doesn't matter who's the superstar that is leading it as. No, so I'm not doing on the Alpha Party. I welcome all voices in our democracy. I'm just a political realist. So on the last couple of elections, I made it clear in my videos that they weren't going to do anything. And they wouldn't get any elected officials. You lose a big share of your audience.
I see where you're going. Right.
But that's no, the point is to be realistic with people. I try to be real about what I'm telling people in my analysis of the news, or my analysis of a poll, or my analysis of how an election will go. I try to be honest with people. And, you know, you can lose audience members for that. You know.
But I think people see you as a bit of a lifeline, though, Davy.
I don't know. I mean, for the last couple of years, the viewing figures, they're split now between 4 channels, but they've been pretty constant at 2,500 viewers a day. But I'm not doing it for viewers. I'm not doing it for money. I'm not doing it for fame. I'm doing it to point out to people that's pish, it's propaganda. You know.
So, I mean, how do you go about researching?
I just monitor the news outlets. I don't watch television. I listen to the radio. I've got a digital radio there. I listen to the radio, and I monitor the news outlets. So,
where would you say you get the most useful information from?
I take it for a broad source. I'll look at the rags. I'll look at Yahoo. I'll look at BBC. I'll look at ITV. I'll look at Sky, and then I'll look at the New European. I'll go as broad as I need to go to find this to look at the stories. But I try to concentrate more on what's happening here in Scotland. I mean, and what's happening down the road in what I call the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers.
Yeah.
So I try and keep it try to keep it as local as possible so it's relevant to people. And of course, pointing at the piss and the propaganda machine. I mean, Project Fear's already started, Siobhan. We've got the baubles being offered, A75 upgrade, 5 new warships on the Clyde, and the other side of that, we get the threats. There'll be shipbuilding on the Clyde if you want to be independent, and you don't have 25% of Europe's potential wind, even though it's a European report that says we do. It also says by 2050, we will probably have 47% of Europe's renewable potential, because by that time we should have downscaled North Sea oil operations, and we'll be using the North Sea basin as somewhere to put wind turbines.
What about tidal turbines?
I'm the expert in the field, but I believe it's well underway. I can't claim to be an expert in green energy, Christ. I throw out as much emissions as any man, if not more, with my profession. Trucks don't exactly throw out fresh air, but if people want their goods to their houses or their supermarkets, they're unnecessary evil until we come up with a clean way of doing it.
So, I mean, the reason I asked John was because we're very grateful to you, all of us. Because I mean, if I've got time to tune in and sort things out myself, find out what's going on, that's what I do. But if I don't have time, then I make sure I always listen to you so that I can find out the bare bones of what's actually happening on a daily basis. And I just think what you do is you're so hardworking, and I think that everyone appreciates what you do. So just thank you.
You make me blush. Come on. It's a lot of fun too. 3 years research, a couple of hours writing the show, sometimes 2.5 to 3 years writing the show, and then doing the show. But I get a lot of fun out of reading back the comments and things like that, or seeing the live comments coming through, and some of the interactions we get with the audience. Whether it's talking to you on Zoom, or talking to other people through personal messenger and things like that, private messages on Facebook. So it's a lot of fun.
And when you get really upset and emotional, it's hilarious, I have to say. I love it.
That's just who I am.
It's because you care, isn't it?
When I came back here for Germany, and I hit Glasgow in the early 90s, there was a pandemic on then and all. It was drugs and despair.
Oh yeah.
And drink. And it's been like that all my life. Nothing's ever get better.
I know.
There's been less degrees of miserable. We're heading into another big period of miserable, and I lived through the 80s. Our kids are about to suffer, or grandkids in most cases are going to suffer what we suffered at the hands of Thatcher, if no worse. Stupid is as stupid does. And keep doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome, is as stupid as it gets. I've been watching Westminster politics all my life, and it's a perfect example of stupid is as stupid does. It really is. Tory mob, come in and steal everything we've got. Labour try and build it up. Tory mob, come in and steal everything we've got. What we see every time the Tories come in is a transfer of wealth from the people to them, taking back everything that was won by the working man since the end of the Second World War, where our imperial masters decided, Christ, we better give them a pat and heed for dying for us, basically. And all this talk about dying for liberty. What liberty? What liberty?
I mean, my son told me, Davy, that he's thinking of emigrating.
If I was young again, I'd be away and all.
That's what I'm fighting for. I want to see my grandchildren grow up. I don't want to have them grow up in another country.
Aye. The net result of Brexit and the misery ahead will be a brain drain from the UK. We're on a massive race to the bottom, and there's nothing left for the Tories to sell. And where we are over the last 10 years, where there's been nothing left but the post office and the NHS to sell, has been basically zero growth to 1% growth, nothing. And then they go and do the stupidest thing of all. The thing that was giving us that 1% growth was the common market. It was just keeping our head above water and no more. And they go and leave it, crashing the economy further. And then they go, idiot Bojo the clown in, and then they let us in, spooking the financial market. But the bigger picture is more important than that. What's really going on is they intend to contract everything to the point of destruction and then say we need to start something new. And that's where these central bank digital currencies will come in and things like that.
That's really terrifying.
That is terrifying, but that's where we're going. And if we have a look at what the Bank of England's doing and they're giving free money to the commercial banks, that's because commercial banks are going to have to go or work as agents for the central bank with these digital currencies. But the other thing that they're doing at the moment as well is consolidating the wealth. These interest rate rises are going to see people lose their houses. That means the banks are going to be sitting with huge amounts of housing stock that they can't do nothing with. So along comes one of these wealthy billionaires, they buy it all up and sell you and rent you hovels. Because there's no controlling the Tories voted down a law down that road to make rented housing fit for human habitation.
Yeah.
There's a bigger picture going on here. And people need to look at places like the World Economic Forum and Davos and things like that to see what's being done behind our backs. Like the G20, the main stories out of the G20, digitised and commonised access for everybody to our health data. Other thing to come out of the G20, digital currency, central bank digital currencies. People need to keep an eye on these things because these are the drivers. Now, I'm being informed that America next year intends to launch their central bank digital currency. And where they go, everybody follows. But these things do exist. I mean, China and places like that already have that sort of controls. The other thing is biometric passports. That's the other thing that came out of the G20.
What's a biometric passport?
That's where your fingerprints are there, your iris scans there, all that sort of thing, your blood type, your DNA sequencing. Well, that's in a biometric passport.
So, the brave new world is upon us. Well,
the World Economic Forum's vision of the brave new world is being forced upon us. I mean, like you take the central bank digital currencies, we're not being consulted on it. It's been decided for us. First the G7 finance ministers, now the G20 finance ministers. It's been decided for us. Where's our say in that?
So what's the solution, though? What can we do about it?
Well, one of the things we can do is take back control of our own country and work from there. Written constitution. Westminster says she'll write free healthcare, the NHS, into it and protect it forever.
Yeah,
we can do things that will thwart them. Yeah. Like, if they're going to have to come here, they're going to have to use money. No central bank digital currency. And people who want to control their own money, their own finances, they'll flock to a place like that. That doesn't take up a central bank digital currency. Because people don't really understand what a central bank digital currency is. I'm not going to go into it because we're here to talk about independence or things. But you all have a search engine, it's your friend. Just type in central bank digital currencies. And you'll see the direction of travel from there.
I will definitely do that today. How will we look at that? So, I mean, if you look at I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
I don't watch television, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
I don't watch it, but I know what's going on. And the people who watch it have voted for Matt Hancock to be the leader in the camp.
There are a few deaths coming up in London.
Because he asked for forgiveness.
For what?
Well, this is what did he ask forgiveness for? Was it because he was caught snogging? Was it because 1 in 14 people died in care homes in the first 3.5 months of the pandemic? It didn't seem to be that.
What happened? Did they make a mess of eating something horrible?
No, he's asking the public who vote.
Oh, the public who vote on this programme, you mean?
Yeah.
The man presided over a disastrous period where a pandemic was upon us. He shouldn't be in the jungle making money, he should be in the jail.
I know. He should be waiting for the outcome of the public inquiry before he even does anything.
Never mind that. Listen, we live in a rock in the middle of the sea. All they today was drop, land everything, pull up with the drawbridges, nothing in there except for essential goods and medicines, and the internal market would have carried on. But they left the airports open, they left the ports open, they let every Tom, Dick and Harry through. Well, as I say, this is a rock in the middle of the sea. We could have kept this to a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Example, New Zealand. Example, Iceland. Example, Faroes. A wee bit more complicated in the island of Ireland because, you know, there was through traffic for the UK, which hadn't shut down at all, basically. Put the people into quarantine instead of putting the island into quarantine. It was just gross incompetence from start to finish. And they know it because the big bookmark pandemic says you live in a rock in the middle of the sea, pull up with drawbridges, land everything, nothing in the route except for essential goods and medicines. That's what the book says. The one that's in the emergency room down there at number 10. So 207,000 dead to COVID and climbing. It's a deliberate act.
And 335,000 from austerity.
That's a deliberate act of wrong. And we've seen that in the Chancellor's autumn statement. I pointed this out in one of my shows. He actually put a value on human life. If you're young, fit and capable, but just no getting by at the moment, you get 900 quid because you can be productive for the next 20, 30 years. Mm-hmm. If you've been productive all your life and you're on a pension, you get £300 help with cost of living. If you're disabled and haven't been able to be productive in society, you get 150. Whereas the least of us need it most. But the least of us got the least. And that's a terrible indictment on the government and society. You judge a society on how we treat the least of us. Well, we know over the last 10 years what the Tories think of the least of us. We've got food banks. Mm-hmm. We've got erosion of the welfare state. We've got earnings that haven't yet got back to 2010 levels and gone backwards. We've got a medical service which is on its knees, which they want to sell. That's why it's on its knees. There's no reason not to fund these things properly. You know.
If you look at
where the UN rapporteur come out to look at human rights abuse for the disabled and went away and wrote a damning report to say that the UK government was violating the human rights of the disabled. Mm-hmm. We've now had it written into law that in England and Wales, because Wales don't have a legal system, that the traveller lifestyle is not to be allowed. You know, if I'm a traveller and I take my mobile home and I park it in land that's no mine, it's to be confiscated and taken away.
Yeah. Now, the Human Rights Act or whatever has been changed. They want to ditch all the UN and all that stuff.
I mean, people remember fascism doesn't come in with his boots on, that's brown shirt. It sneaks in looking all cuddly. And we're seeing that. We're seeing it. We're seeing the othering of others. And we are seeing the persecution of the disabled. And now they're going after the trade unions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, sorry, folks. Fascism comes in increments. And of course, we can see the absolute imperialist fascism in it when you look at Scotland and Northern Ireland. They don't respect the views of Scottish people. We're about to find out next Wednesday whether we're a colony or an equal part of a union. And we've already seen Northern Ireland. They voted to remain. They voted to remain. The majority of their elected MLAs are in favour of the protocol. Protocol doesn't suit the English and doesn't suit the Unionists, so protocol must go. Never mind the majority of the people in Northern Ireland. No. So it's imperative we get away from these nut jobs.
But why do you think it is that so many people don't agree with us in Scotland?
It's not that they don't agree. I don't make people who don't agree that we could make better decisions by ourselves. I mean, devolution proves that. In fact, the Scottish Parliament's got 86% popularity, and recent polls show that people would like more decisions made in Holyrood and more funds to remain in Holyrood. But that's not it. It's generally people are frightened of change, and the older we get, the more risk averse we are, because generally we've accumulated more. And the reason why people voted no the last time was they voted on their wallets. Well, guess what, kids? There's nothing in your fucking wallets anymore, so it's time to make a change and start again.
Yeah.
So
you think it's project fear?
What they deem to be secure.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's all about fear of change.
It's about fear of change. And we look at the demographic that voted against it. That's a clear sign that there was fear of change.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't detect much loyalty to the union in Scotland at all. Social aptitude studies and things like that show that 86% is class herself as Scottish only. You know, the majorities would like Holyrood to make all the decisions here in Scotland. So it's just the fear of financial turmoil. Well, we're already in financial turmoil. This is protected anyway.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So you know the budget?
Yes.
So did they decide in the end, because I got confused, are we keeping the triple lock on pensions or not?
They kept it. Yes, they kept it. Well, without saying they're keeping it, they honoured it this time round.
Mm-hmm.
They got a rise for September's RPI, so basically a 1% cut. But that's beside the point. They get 10.1%. Inflation's at 11.1%. But you've got to remember, I keep hearing people say budget. It wasn't a budget, it was a fiscal statement. Yeah. And these are basically promissory notes, provided they're in a position to do it in April next year.
So there's your caveat, their little get out clause for their promises.
Well, almost everything that they announced was to commence April next year, starting next tax year. So it wasn't a budget. People keep talking about budget. It was a fiscal statement, a direction of travel, a promissory note. Now, we all know that a week's a long time in politics. Yeah. I mean, look at what Trust did in a week after our mini budget. Blew a £55 billion hole in the UK's finances because the Bank of England had to step in, steady the pound and steady the pensions market. You know? But Trust didn't wreck the economy. Everybody keeps saying Trust wrecked the economy. Trust didn't wreck the economy. Tories have been wrecking the economy consistently since they got in 2010. Brexit was the irreversible damage to the economy. And what was interesting about that fiscal statement from Tory and Labour, the only thing that wasn't mentioned, the most damaging thing of all, Brexit, it wasn't mentioned. It's almost as if Brexit never happened, never exists. Even though we've still got 16-mile queues at Dover and things like that, you know, it's just not reported on. If you don't live in Kent, you don't know about the problems.
Yeah, so sometimes what I do is I'll watch what you say, and then I'll go and watch Prime Minister's questions in Westminster, or even the First Minister's questions in Holyrood. And when you hear what the Unionist parties say, it's like they are talking, they're in an alternate universe. Because it doesn't, you know, everything that you say is, none of that comes from their lips. All they tell you is, it's like
you've got to remember, I'm just interpreting what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm no want to say word for word what they're saying. I'm interpreting what they're doing.
What I mean is, it's like
Or what they mean.
It's like, as you call it, propaganda. People still believe it, though.
People believe the BBC News. The BBC News is one of the most harmful things to the people of Scotland there is. You know, they talk about high suicide rates. No one are watching the BBC News. Absolutely. There's nothing good about Scotland. Nothing. There's nothing good about Scotland. And our children get that blasted into their ears every single day, that they are crap, that our country's crap, that our public services are crap, that their education's crap. The damage that the BBC must be doing to the mental health of the people of Scotland. No wonder people are on drinking drugs and committing suicide. I put that right at the doorstep of the BBC. There is nothing that London-based a broadcaster, the British Broadcasting Corporation, has to say here in Scotland that is positive about Scotland. No, in my lifetime. No wonder people drink so much, take drugs and commit suicide. So and then you look at the mess that people in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers have been making consistently through my life.
How do we tackle that? How do we get through that brainwashing?
You do what I do, you do what you do. We put programs like this on and hope that people will see it, pay a wee bit of attention and think, you know what, you're right there. Let's have a look at this from a different angle.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know,
that's why I started this thing that I'm doing just now. I mean, it's just a wee experiment to see if it's like, if it's helpful, if it works, or if it doesn't.
It will be helpful when it does help for people to listen to how other people came to how they came to where they are today. There'll be some fascinating stories out there, I'm sure you'll be able to track down. Although I have to say, most of the people who I've seen on your guest list so far, they've been activists for as long as I have. I know most of them. The interesting one will be Nancy.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Because Nancy came late to the game. But I'll let her tell her story.
Oh, right. Thank you for that little bit of intrigue.
So, no, I'd say interesting to find out people's perspectives and their views and how they go to where we are today, being supporters of Scottish independence, promoting the idea of self-determination, and debunking the crap that comes from the print media and the broadcast media.
I've got a wee idea that I want to run past you. Are you interested in hearing it?
Aye, sure.
Okay, so I would like to, in February, do a month called Freedom February. You know how you've got Movember when people grow moustaches?
Mm-hmm.
And you've got like Stoptober.
Aye.
Stop smoking.
Sober October and aye.
All that stuff. Well, if we did Freedom February, and all of the people that are our online community, our online Yes family, hit the live button on Facebook on their own page and put up a wee 3 minutes of their own personal journey to Yes.
Well, I'll leave you, Siobhan, to promote it.
Do you think it sounds like an idea? Do you think it's a good idea?
Of course it's a great idea. If you get 2 million people to put their reasons for voting yes or want to vote yes online, that might bound to change some people's minds.
And if we did it in like all together in 1 month, like, you know, Freedom February.
Aye, well, as I say, Siobhan, I don't have time myself, so you promote it.
Oh, I'll promote it, but I just wondered if you would endorse it.
Aye, I'll even put a video out. I'll put a 3. Although getting me to put a 3-minute video my shows are normally 35 to 45 minutes long, depending on how much news there's been that needs debunked or needs explaining.
So I mean, I know people are shy, and I know that the very first time you go live is always the worst time.
Oh, it's murder every time. We're talking about it before we went live. I mean, each morning before I do my programme, I'm pacing up and doing all nervous.
And it's the adrenaline.
Aye. And then when I sit down, I don't really know how it's going to go until I get into a flow. There's days where I just read what I've wrote, and there's days when I really get into it and go off on one. And everybody seems to like a wee rant.
Oh, I just love it. I'm slapping the kitchen cabinets and laughing. I love it.
But mostly it's all, we all feel the same at times,
Yes, we do. I
mean, I'm really passionate about the poor quality of journalism or the crap that passes for journalism here. The lack of investigative journalists, the lack of good reporting, and it's all to do with the constitutional question. Once we get over that hurdle and can put that to bed, because it won't be put to bed until the people get what they want.
No, that's true.
And as things deteriorate further and further down that road, I mean, they're now talking about Rishi Sunak's government collapsing.
What?
By Christmas, aye. You're talking about civil war and the Tory party, the extreme right wing don't agree with these tax rises, so they're talking about no voting for it. Because the fiscal statement or the fiscal direction of the UK will need to be voted on by MPs. So he's made his fiscal statement, he's going to have to put it in front of MPs now to see if he can take the UK in that direction. Now, if the right wing of the Tory party don't want to go in that direction, we'll have another meltdown in the UK government.
Oh, they can't do it again. This has got to be the very last time they change.
I reckon this time it would probably lead to a general election. But even at that, it's two cheeks of the same bahookie. You couldn't put a cigarette paper between them. Starmer's not going to change nothing. He's not going to come in and reverse the Nationalities and Borders Bill. He's not going to change the Internal Market Bill. He's not going to change the Police Crimes and Sentencing Bill. He's not going to change the security bills that have been passed, which take away our civil liberties. Or the English and Welsh people with civil liberties. We've got a different legal system. So Starmer's not going to change much. And when all these promises he's made about National Energy Company and all that crap, well, when he gets in and he sits down at his desk and the Treasury report hits it, he's going to realise he can't do that. He's going to have to remain on the same path that Jeremy Hunt's taken us on. And that's why the Times and the Telegraph were talking about Jeremy Hunt and Gordon Brown having the same dilemmas and having gone in the same direction. Answer, make the people pay. So for every mistake they make, the people pay.
Do you think we should be highlighting what a well-being economy is?
Yes. And it should be getting mentioned more by the Scottish Government. But as we already know, the Scottish Government has been building that well-being economy for quite a while now. Earlier bus passes for the elderly to keep them in contact with their family. That's a well-being policy. Baby boxes, well-being policy. Taking away with bridge tolls, well-being policy, because that's all money that stays within the family. 10 years of council tax frees, well-being policy. The creation of social care, and now we're looking at National Care Service. These are all well-being policies. No permitting the bedroom tax, offsetting it for our money, giving it back to Westminster, so that people don't have to move out their houses to imaginary one-bedroom houses and flats that don't exist. These are all well-being property policies because these are family homes, whether they be owned by the people or whether they be in the social rented sector, which is still massive here in Scotland compared to the rest of the UK. These are all well-being policies.
Do you think the way that Labour operates, they used to represent socialism on these islands? Do you think that we could actually be a little... we could kind of highlight the fact they're no longer socialist and that the Scottish Government is more socialist?
Oh, the SNP are more left of centre, there's no doubt about it. Without a doubt, the SNP are more left of centre. But as the Labour haven't really had any socialists in their movement since the mid-80s, but the end of the 80s.
Yeah.
When the next generation came through, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, that sort of thing, they were all centrists. And Starmer's a wee bit right of centre, believe it or not. He really is.
Mm-hmm. So
the man that kissed a Tory.
What?
Oh, aye. That's just one of the newspaper reports. Tories are no bad people, apparently.
According to who?
Starmer, before he came into politics, he had conservative friends. He kissed a few of them, apparently.
Oh, really?
That was a story, believe it or not. That nonsense was a story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Starmer's new to politics, relatively new to politics. He was a public prosecutor before. So they're talking about his backstory. And his backstory is he kissed a Tory.
I see.
But he is a Tory, so it doesn't make any difference.
No.
You know?
So what do you think we should do about the Supreme Court result?
What can we do about it? Let me put that back to you. What is the next step? What can we do?
Well, I think it's probably going to be the third option, not the first or the second. I think they're going to kick the can down the road, as opposed to give us a result. Either we can have a referendum or we can't.
It's not a kick the can down the road thing. What you mean is they're going to sit on the fence and say it's political and it's not a legal matter.
That's what I meant.
Then that's a bonus for us. Because Westminster says no, we say aye, we go ahead and do it, bug you. No, bugger you, Westminster. Because when they say it's a political decision, well, it's a political decision for the people of Scotland. That Westminster's already admitted that. That it's a political decision for the people of Scotland. There was a petition put together, I don't know if you're aware of this. There was a petition put together to get this referendum. And it got to the required 100,000 to be heard in the House of Commons. And it was rejected. It was rejected, and what it said, the reason for rejecting it was, this is a matter for the people of Scotland, no Westminster. That's what the petitions committee down there said. They rejected a debate on the issue because they said this has got nothing to do with Westminster, it's a matter for the people of Scotland. So, if they say it's a political issue, then it makes life easier for us.
So wouldn't the Unionists boycott it if we had another referendum under those conditions?
Doesn't matter, the international community will recognise the outcome.
Yeah.
The reason for that is we don't negate the outcome of elections because people don't go along and vote.
Yeah.
Everybody has a franchise. Everybody of age to vote has a franchise. It's up to them to exercise it. If they choose not to exercise it, that does not negate the outcome.
Very much, yeah.
No.
So
I'll give you a really easy example to understand of that, right? In the ward, for my council elections, there are about 12 to 15,000 people live here, who are eligible to vote. The average turnout's 2,000. We don't tell the people that were standing to be councillors they can't be councillors because the other 13,000 couldn't be bothered going to this polling station. They stand elected as is. Like, I think we've got a Labour councillor around here who gets 600 votes. And that was the mate. He stormed it. You don't get 2,000 people voting. 600 votes a lot. You know? So, we don't negate elections.
I think there's 400,000 Scots not registered to vote.
I don't know.
Yeah, 400,000.
Is that how many are not registered to vote?
I think so.
Aye. You know, that's another way they're going to try and gerrymander it, because I think I've got a funny feeling they're going to come to the table, but they're going to try and put a supermajority or something on it. You know what I mean? Like they did in the 79 referendum, where Labour sneaked in a wee amendment at the end to say 40% the public have to vote. 40% didn't vote. But what they did was they counted everybody that was recently dead and those who couldn't be bothered voting as no's.
Well, couldn't we just argue in that case that the result of Brexit is invalid because that's only based on however many percentage of the voters?
What difference does it make when we argue, Siobhan? Brexit's done.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to change their mind on it. I mean, as I say, the fiscal statement the other day, the only thing that wasn't mentioned, the thing that's damaging the economy the most, Brexit, wasn't mentioned.
Yeah. They can't do that to us. They can't try and was it that sort of Ian Paisley Jr. or someone?
Aye, he's trying to put a super majority in because the unionists in Northern Ireland are now the minority. Now, I don't mean politically, I mean actually physically they're the minority as well.
Yeah.
There are more people on the other side of the fence, as they call it out there. So they're trying to gerrymander democracy in Northern Ireland to keep their point of view to the forefront. So we'll see the same thing here in Scotland. They'll try and gerrymander things as well. It's up to the government of the day to stand strong and say, no, we're no allowing this crap. We're going to run it by the rules of the accepted rules of referenda that have been run in the UK.
Right.
That means a simple majority wins.
Right. So, I mean, in your heart of hearts, Davy, are you optimistic that we're going to have a referendum next October? At
this point in time, yes.
That's quite
especially nice. After Nicola had a word with Sunak at Blackpool. No widely reported, but she told him we're going to do it anyway.
Oh.
She just told him one way or another we're going to do it.
So, are you going to be doing anything next Wednesday? In terms of like gathering with anyone or protesting or?
No.
Or are you just going to be working?
No, I think I'm off on Wednesday, but I'll still be working. You know. I do see the point in protests and rallies and things like that. I attend a lot of them. But whatever the ruling is, one way or another, getting together and celebrating, getting together and commiserating, it's a great idea. I just don't really have the time next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a lot to do. And I've got a lot of things going on in the background as well, which I have to keep juggling with.
Do you think that we should be reaching more young people?
Yes.
Have you got any idea how we could do that?
Don't ask me. My audience is about my age.
Yeah, same me.
And I get the demographics broken down for me in the YouTube studio. I even get to see where people are watching from in the studio. So I know many. Glasgow, Edinburgh, and the next biggest audiences are London.
What?
London.
I wonder who they.
I've got the whole of the 77 Brigade tuning in.
Oh dear.
And then I can see the other countries are tuned in. Germany, Belgium, Australia, the US, Ireland, and a couple of Scandinavian countries.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Right. So I get to see where the audience is as well, and the demographics of my audience starts at 35 and goes upwards from there. I love to reach the under 35s, but the only way to do that is to get out amongst them. You know,
they've got a different way of like doing things. They like things to be very short and sharp, don't they?
Yeah, I blame that on the television, to be honest with you. The attention span's no there. And that's why we've had the sort of populist politics we've had lately as well. The Germans worked this out. The Nazi Party or Social Democratic Party, whatever they call themselves, and worked this one out. Jingoism, short, sharp sound bites.
Yeah,
it sticks, whether it's true or no. The sound bite sticks. Like take back control.
And see, personally, I would like to see other people putting up their own posts, maybe doing sort of like some wee comedy sketches. There used to be do you remember Tracy Ullman?
Yes.
Do you remember when she used to do Nicola Sturgeon?
No.
It's on YouTube.
I'll have a look, but I mean, Janie Godley's videos and voiceovers of politicians, and especially Nicola Sturgeon, are absolutely fantastic.
Well, anyway, so Tracy Ullman used to do a skit with Nicola Sturgeon, sort of like with her tartan high heels on in sort of some sort of castle bit of Edinburgh. And her sidekick was Mary Black. And it's quite funny, but I mean, she also did Angela Merkel as well.
I'll have a wee look on YouTube. I tend to see a lot of stuff on YouTube.
I would like to see a bit more of that sort of thing with some comedy sketches and like try and get people to think about what's going on in politics, but not necessarily just the mainstream media and not necessarily what we share on here.
It's always, it's how do you reach out? How do you get the audience when the mainstream media's got it tied up?
Yeah.
That thing over there is just the 21st century's version, because there is one there. Sarah watches Netflix. I just don't watch it at all. But that thing over there is the 21st century's equivalent of the Colosseums in Rome, the Colosseums, and the gladiator rings right across a crumbling Italian empire. And that thing over there is what's happening as the West crumbles and new super economies come to take the place, like the BRIC, the BRIC economies. Brazil, Russia, India, China, they're predicted to be the next big economies.
Yeah.
As they come to the fore and the Western Empire crumbles, that's what's happening now. That's what we're seeing. Yeah.
So we're nearly up now. I've managed to take up a whole hour of your life, and thank you for that.
That's all right. I don't start work till 8 o'clock at night, so I had plenty of time.
Oh, well, I do appreciate it a lot. You know, the last thing I wanted to ask you was, you know, your friend who does Scottish Random Histories.
Hi, Jenny Ellis.
Yes, I watched that. That was fascinating. That thing you did with the two Davies with her. So, like, what particular area of Scottish history are you interested in, or all of it?
Whatever people put in front of me, I'll devour it. But I have obviously we everything that's been going on back in 2012. Myself and a few friends we delved into the Treaty and Article of Union and Articles of Union and had a look at ancient law and things like that to do with the claim of rights, things like that. And Jenny puts out smashing videos and draws together great research and puts them out in book form. And just absolutely great fun, Jenny. You know, absolutely great fun, knowledgeable young lady, an absolute joy to sit and chat with. Although I have to say, there's not much sitting and chatting with Jenny. You just bring up a subject and let go.
Nice, good.
Because she knows her stuff, so you just bring up a subject and let Jenny go on with it. Brilliant.
Right, well, I'm just going to let you go then.
Well, thanks. Well, I hope people found that interesting.
Yes, so do I. I was keeping an eye on the comments, but I'm not really very good at like interviewing and keeping an eye. I need more practice.
Well, listen, I'm glad you've got it up and running. We need more content. If we're going to draw people away from the television and the mainstream, then we have to put out content that interests them or informs them or both. And you've just said entertain as well. It's important that we entertain. Otherwise, people are not going to come and watch.
Morag Walker said we need to get our young folks to convert their grannies.
Well, that's the call. So get yourself outside the school gate and start saying to the youngsters as they come out, go tell your granny to vote yes.
Oh, well, that's very true, though. It is a bit of that. That's what we need to be doing, is like having these little quiet conversations. I suppose we all do it anyway, don't we? We all talk to our families and our friends anyway, don't we?
Yeah, aye. I mean, it's a major outlet. We don't have a digital broadcasting. We don't have a television. We have social media and word of mouth, and both are important. When I talk about 2011 and the SNP winning the majority, that was the SNP winning the social media campaign and getting out there and speaking to people. Because that's what social media does. If there's a couple of thousand people see this programme there'll be a couple of thousand people who are saying to their pal, you see that programme? He said this, he said that, this happened, that happened. And they start discussing the stuff. So aye, that's the point.
Okay. All right then, Davy. Well, like, don't work too hard.
The intention of working too hard. I'm semi-retired.
Oh. All right.
Hey, I'll let you end the broadcast here, Siobhan.
Right. Well, I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it informative.
And keep your eyes on the prize.
Keep your eyes on the prize.
Get out there and win hearts and minds. I'll let you share the live stream, don't Siobhan?
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. I think if I share it down, I might end it with you as well. It doesn't let me talk to you.
That's all right. I'll just split for here then. Bye.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.